Have you ever wondered why the sky suddenly starts sending strange signals? The ground just caves in without warning, and the ocean flashes like it's hiding something. Everything happens fast, one thing piling on top of another, making it feel like time is shrinking, and the future has never looked more unclear. The uneasiness spreads quickly. Nobody gets to just stand on the sidelines. Strange swarms of creatures explode in number. Unknown objects rip through the sky. Weather breaks into pieces. Lights rise up from the bottom of the sea. Messages appear in the clouds. Deserts start to bleed. Clouds take on shapes you can't even name. The earth opens its mouth and swallows things whole. Fire shoots up right in the middle of ice and snow. And glowing rings follow planes in the sky. It all seems to be growing, repeating, crashing into each other, like a long list of warnings that's been written in the Bible for ages. Are we just seeing coincidences, or is this a real warning? Before we get into each strange event, please leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a simple way to show your faith. And now, so you don't have to wait long, we're going to move right to the places where each of these signs will slowly show its true meaning. Let's start with 1. Thousands of bugs cover an entire house, creating a chaotic and terrifying scene. If you woke up one morning and the first thing you saw wasn't sunlight or your usual furniture, but thousands of creatures crawling all over the walls, curtains, and floor, could you stay calm? The air gets thick. A strong bad smell sticks to every breath, and the sense of danger spreads faster than you can even think. That video captures the moment and won't let you look away. It's like a warning that jumps out of everyday life, sudden, with no time to dodge it. That morning in Sochi didn't start with sunshine or the sound of waves from the Black Sea. It started with a suffocating feeling coming straight through the phone screen. Just the first few seconds of the video make your heart sink as dark patches crawl across the whole frame, moving non-stop like one living mass. There's a moment you wonder, if that door opened right in front of you, would you be calm enough to just stand there watching? Sochi sits right next to the thick Kolchak forests, where the damp, dense environment makes it easy for insects to multiply. In recent years, big swarms have been showing up more often, from moths to mosquitoes, spreading along the Black Sea coast and even reaching the Kamchatka Peninsula. In the video, bugs completely cover the curtains, spill down onto the floor, turning a normal living space into total chaos, with no way out. The woman who recorded it said she woke up surrounded by a heavy, awful smell that hung in the air like toxic fog. Bugs kept banging into walls and furniture, making dry, scratchy noises. The whole room, just a few dozen square feet, felt impossible to breathe in. The pest control team took hours to clean it all up, but the uneasy feeling doesn't disappear that quickly. The scene reminds people of Exodus 10, 14, 15, where locusts covered the land of Egypt, so many that there had never been anything like it. Those old words sound like an echo now, because what's on the screen today isn't in some faraway desert. It's happening in a modern city, right in front of today's cameras. Some folks say it's just the result of warmer weather and natural cycles getting messed up, nothing beyond nature. But when similar swarms keep coming, thicker and across more areas of Russia, that explanation starts to lose its power. Revelation 9:3-4 describes small creatures given power to harm, not with great force, but with quiet, overwhelming numbers. Matthew 24:7 speaks of famines and upheavals spreading one after another as connected signs. That insect swarm isn't just a nature event. It feels more like a warning about how fragile our normal way of life really is. When even the tiniest things start getting out of control, what happens if that line keeps getting pushed further? This may not be the final answer, but the cold shiver down your spine is real. If these swarms don't stop at one coastal city and turn into a worldwide wave, how will we face it when the door no longer closes in time? 2. A strange cloud that almost seemed to have a mind of its own floated across the sky in Philadelphia, USA. The sky over Philadelphia that day wasn't super dark. And it wasn't unusually bright either. But the video that went around made people stop and stare right from the first second. There was this blurry shape, just hanging there in the air. Hard to tell if it was a cloud or some kind of object. Inside it, there was this flickering light that's tough to describe. The quietness around the whole scene gave it a feeling of mystery, like something was being shown to us, but nobody quite had enough information to say exactly what it was. Philadelphia is a busy city in Pennsylvania, where tall buildings and city lights usually block the sky. It's rare to have enough calm for strange things to really stand out. Still, that area has had quite a few reports over the years of boomerang-shaped flying objects, with bright light focused in the center and moving in ways that don't follow normal paths. What made this particular video different was how slow and calm it moved, like whatever it was didn't rush to hide, and it wasn't trying to show off either. If you look closely, the glowing shape looked like a thick cloud, fuzzy around the edges but sparkling with white light mixed with green inside, sometimes shifting to a soft gold. Some folks said it was probably just a shiny plastic bag or some test drone, but the steady movement and controlled direction made that idea hard to believe. When you watch the full video, you notice the light doesn't just fade out, it changes rhythm, almost like it's responding to the space around it. Similar reports have popped up here and there in the area, glowing points that change color, hovering for several minutes before melting into the clouds. Acts 2:19 records the announcement, "I will show wonders in the sky above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and clouds of smoke." Those words don't explain how it happens. They simply say the sky won't stay quiet the way people are used to. Doubt still remains. Some think it's just an optical illusion from light bending through polluted air. But the video shows the object keeping its shape for a long time. It doesn't break apart like a normal cloud, and it doesn't fall freely like floating trash. Matthew 24-30 talks about the sign of the Son of Man appearing in the sky, without lots of detail, almost like it's just there to let us know that moment won't be easy to miss. Revelation 1-7 goes on to say, "He is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." That line isn't meant to scare people. It simply points to something completely public and open. When you put those old words next to this video, what's left isn't a firm answer. It's more a feeling that the sky is being mentioned more often, both in ancient writings and in our time now. The glowing object eventually disappeared, and the sky went back to looking normal and familiar. But the question still hangs there. Not really, what was it? But rather, will future appearances just get recorded like this one? Or will they eventually carry a clearer message for anyone who's still looking up? 3. The weather got strange in the weirdest way, like two different worlds caught in one single frame. The moment that video popped up, the first feeling wasn't fear. It was pure amazement. Right at the front door, rain was falling steady, just like any damp, ordinary day. But take just a few steps out to the backyard, and the ground was solid white with snow. Reality split right down the middle in the same picture, making you wonder, are the things my eyes are seeing really from the same world? Halifax sits on the Atlantic coast, a small town used to cold winds and weather that can flip in a heartbeat. Winters there often bring rain mixed with snow, but seeing rain and snow existing side by side in the same living space still feels beyond normal imagination. The video spread fast, and right away people started saying it must be some clever editing job. Things got unsteady when more clips from nearby areas showed up, proving the same thing happened at different times. In some spots, thick snow covered everything, while just a couple hundred feet away, the road was still wet from rain. Nova Scotia has seen 10 inches of snow fall in just a few hours before, but this sharp, clear dividing line made the whole thing feel even more unreal. Luke 21:25 talks about unpredictable changes, then says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, nations will be in anguish because the sea is roaring and waves are crashing." When you put those words next to the split scene in Halifax, a lot of folks started seeing the video as more than just weird weather, maybe something we need to pay closer attention to. Meteorologists gave the scientific explanation. Local rain happens when a layer of warm air moves in low, while cold air still covers the areas right next door. With the coastal landscape and complicated ocean currents, it's rare but not impossible. From that view, everything is still within nature's rules, even if those rules are getting harder and harder to predict. Joel 2:30 opens another layer of meaning before the quote, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." Those ancient words don't explain the exact how. They focus on everything being turned upside down, when the usual laws stop working the way they always did. Comparing the two ways of seeing it, one with pressure charts, one with symbolic language, we stand in the middle and wonder which one we trust more. Matthew 24:6-7 reminds us of one trouble after another, then says plainly, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not alarmed, because these things must happen." When rain and snow sit side by side like two separate pieces of reality, that unsettled feeling doesn't seem to be just about the weather anymore. It's also about how we're trying to make sense of what's going on. If one day the lines between different natural states keep getting blurred, will the ground we're standing on still feel as solid as it used to? Or are these Halifax moments just the quiet beginning of a much bigger change that's already starting to unfold? 4. Mysterious light rising under the night ocean surface. The darkness of the ocean always carries a weight that's hard to name. Off the coast of Fort Lauderdale, where the water looks so calm, a surprise video suddenly shows a cold light rising up from the deep. No explosion, no warning, just a gloomy green streak that appears, then disappears, leaving you with the feeling that something is waking up down there on the ocean floor. The Florida coast has long been connected to reports of strange underwater things nobody can explain. Just the area near Fort Lauderdale has more than 300 cases over the years, most of them brushed off because there wasn't clear proof. But this time, the light didn't just stay still. It moved, making the water around it tremble slightly, as if the sea itself was reacting to something invisible. Witnesses say the shimmering streak rose up from about 100 feet deep, and this was recorded through community data on the Enigma app. It didn't look like a submarine, and it didn't give off any familiar military signals. In the thick darkness of the ocean, that movement made many people shiver and wonder, if this isn't some kind of machine, then what is hiding down there that we have never been able to control? Revelation 13:1 paints a picture worth thinking about, even before the words are fully written. I saw a beast rising out of the sea, with 10 horns and 7 heads. When you put those words next to these lights coming up from the deep, the unease isn't really about the exact shape anymore. It's about the idea of something rising from the place we understand the least. Online, people quickly split into different opinions. Some say it's just glowing sea creatures, something science has recorded before. Others push back, saying the brightness and the way it moved go way beyond normal living things. Then there are folks who stay neutral, pointing out that without more solid data, any conclusion right now is just guesswork. Job 41:31-32 talks about the power of a deep-sea creature, then describes, "It makes the deep boil like a pot. It makes the sea like a pot of ointment." That picture isn't really meant to explain this event. It's more like a warning about the things people have ignored, the powers under the water that science and technology don't get to decide. Psalm 74:13-14 goes deeper with the warning when it says, "You divided the sea by your might. You broke the heads of the Leviathan on the waters." In the light of these verses, the ocean doesn't just look like a natural place anymore. It becomes a hiding spot for powers that were once covered up. Whether it's glowing sea life or something beyond what we know today, these repeated appearances of lights under the sea raise a serious question. If those things keep coming closer to the surface, Will the ocean still just be the last boundary before something terrifying steps into our world? 5. Strange message written across the clear blue sky. That night in Texas, the sky didn't just make folks look up because they were curious. It hit them with a real shock that's hard to describe. Among those thin white clouds, a message appeared so plain and clear you couldn't possibly miss it. The letters joined together to spell out, "Find the truth." Right then, who among us didn't wonder, is this just a random thing? Or is it a personal call to the ones who keep watching the heavens? The area around Locke, near Houston, isn't new to strange happenings that nobody can really explain. Texas has been famous for years for mysterious lights like the Marfa lights out west. Lights that show up, then vanish, leaving way more questions than answers. But this time, what gave people goosebumps wasn't dancing lights. It was real words floating right there in the middle of the sky, as if the sky was trying to talk to us using our own language. The video that went viral shows those white cloud letters staying sharp and readable for several minutes before they slowly melted away into the air. Some people figure it was just an airplane skywriting ad. Others say it was only clouds that happened to line up perfectly. Even so, the way it looked so crisp and appeared so suddenly made lots of folks feel this wasn't any normal, natural thing. Daniel 5:5 gets brought up a lot as the key before the full line. Suddenly the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote on the palace wall. Back in that old story, the writing came out of nowhere not to tease people, but to force them to face a truth they'd been hiding from. When you set that beside the words in the Texas sky, you get this strange mix of holy feeling and deep unease. The longer people think about it, the more they connect this to larger prophecies. Acts 2:19 talks about signs before the words become clear. I will show wonders in heaven above and signs on the earth beneath. The real point isn't only what the words say. It's the fact that the sky itself became the billboard, something far beyond ordinary ways of communication. Joel 2:30 keeps painting the bigger picture, mentioning wonders in the heavens and on the earth, like one thing leading to another. In that setting, find the truth stops sounding like just a smart idea. It starts feeling like a spiritual nudge, calling people back to the most important things they've left behind or forgotten. Whether somebody staged the whole thing or it was a genuine heavenly sign, this event put a seed of doubt and wondering into a lot of hearts. If the sky can send a message that clear, then what exactly is this truth it's pointing to? And if there's a next time, how much more powerful might that message be? 6. Thick, stinky black liquid seeps up through the sand. Dubai's desert is used to sand and wind, but this time what stops people isn't a heat mirage. It's a strange, kind of creepy curiosity. Right in the middle of the dry golden sand, a dark streak of liquid slowly creeps out like an exposed vein, spreading a strong smell that makes the air feel different, almost like the ground just opened up and showed a secret it didn't want anyone to see. This spot sits right on the rich oil belt of the Middle East, the same area where surprise discoveries have changed the world energy map more than once. Dubai has lots of stories about treasures buried deep under the sand, but seeing actual liquid come up to the surface and flow in little streams, that's really rare. A lot of people think this isn't just chance. The friends who were on safari said they smelled crude oil before they even saw the thick black stuff oozing out of a natural crack. It doesn't shoot out hard, it just flows, slow and steady, almost like the desert is breathing. When the authorities got the report and came to check, the idea that this might be a sign of a brand new oil field quickly became a serious possibility. Ezekiel 38-12 got mentioned before the old words rang out clearly: to take spoil and to take prey, to turn thine hand upon the people that are gathered, which have cattle and goods. With resources suddenly lying right out in the open, those words feel like they're talking about wealth being exposed, and all the greed and plans that come with it, going far beyond just rocks and geology. Geologists first guessed it was probably an old pipeline leak, but the way the flow looks and that very particular smell point to something natural. Similar things have happened before in the Gulf of Suez area. Some huge fields holding 100 million barrels were found just from tiny surface clues. Psalm 104-15 comes in as another piece when the full line is quoted: "Wine that maketh glad the heart of man, oil to make his face shine, and bread which strengtheneth man's heart." Oil has always been both a blessing that built our whole civilization and the root of fights and competition. That two-sided nature is exactly why this find makes people pause and think. Jeremiah 6-7 adds a darker feeling when it mentions the image of a fountain. "As a fountain casteth out her waters, so she casteth out her wickedness." If resources rising up don't just bring good things but also trouble and unrest, then this flow in the desert might be a quiet warning about what's coming next. Between the burning sand and that heavy oil smell, the natural question comes up: do you think this is just a random geology find? Or could it be the first sign of another big round of conflict? The desert stayed silent for centuries, but when it finally starts talking, what else is still waiting down there to come up? And where will this discovery take all of us? 7. Mysterious black circle in the Palestinian sky. That day, the sky over Palestine wasn't noisy at all. It just went quiet, like it was holding its breath. A round cloud appeared slowly, stayed still, long enough that you couldn't look away. And in that moment, did you feel your heart sink a little, like you were facing something bigger than reason? Palestine is a land way too familiar with pain and waiting. Every sign in the sky can easily touch the deepest feelings. Against the pale gray background, the cloud slowly took on a shape that reminded people of something holy. Many stopped, raised their phones with trembling hands, full of hope. Its movement wasn't wild. It was slow, drifting, as if it was watching the people below more than showing itself off. Videos spread fast online, with quiet whispers that this was an image of Jesus, right there in the land of suffering. The haunting feeling didn't come from a clear shape. It came from the emotional blur, where faith and despair were piled on top of each other. Plenty of people said just seeing that cloud made them break down and cry, even though they couldn't explain why. Acts 1:11 came up before the Bible. Words rang out like a wake-up bell. "Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking up into heaven? This Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will come back in the same way you saw him go." In that setting, those words didn't feel like some far-off promise anymore. They felt like a reminder that his return is tied to our need to stay awake and ready. Online, people quickly split into different opinions. Some believed it was a comforting sign in the middle of war and loss. Others said it was just pareidolia, the brain seeing familiar shapes in random clouds. A few stayed in the middle, saying the real meaning is in people's feelings, not in the shape itself. Matthew 24-30 was quoted as the next warning. "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn and beat their chests." That verse woke a lot of people up. It doesn't just talk about hope. It also speaks of facing the truth and what comes with it. Revelation 1-7 closed the chain of thoughts with heavy words. "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." If the cloud in Palestine was just a natural thing, the strong human reaction still shows that the longing to see, to believe, and to be saved is still very much alive. Between the quiet sky and the loud debates, one thing is hard to deny. That image reached deep into people's faith. If signs like this keep appearing in the skies over the most suffering places, are they bringing comfort, or are they quietly warning that time might not be as long as we think? 8. A sudden sinkhole appears in the backyard. Really strange. No warning, no long shaking, just a big open hole right in the middle of a quiet neighborhood in Ipswich, Queensland. Enough to make anyone get chills. A normal backyard suddenly turns into a deep, black pit, like the ground just made up its own mind. Ipswich has layers of buried history. It used to be a busy mining area back in the 1800s. Old tunnels have been sitting quietly underground for hundreds of years. People thought they were safe and forgotten, but now they're becoming a hidden danger. The very places people dug for wealth are now collapsing back on them without warning. An older couple noticed the sinkhole when the ground behind their house started sinking and muddy water came up. In just a few hours, the hole got bigger, swallowing trees and the fence, leaving a pit about 20 feet deep and nearly 50 feet wide. What would you do if the safest place you know suddenly turned into a bottomless hole? Geologists came in with their calm analysis. They think it probably came from old drainage systems mixed with those forgotten mine shafts, slowly making the ground weaker over time. The dirt and rock that used to be held up by basic old methods can't hold anymore. The collapse was just a matter of when, not if. Numbers 16:31-32 gets mentioned like an ancient warning still echoing today. The ground opened its mouth and swallowed them, their families, and everyone who belonged to Korah, along with all their possessions. When you hear that Bible verse, the sinkhole stops being just a ground problem. It becomes a picture of judgment coming right from the earth we're standing on. Revelation 6:12 puts this in an even bigger picture of the last days. There was a great earthquake. The sun became black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. Ground movements aren't happening one at a time anymore. They're coming more often, more strongly, like a chain reaction you can't stop. Joel 2:10 finishes the warning with a full picture of everything shaking. The earth quakes before them. The heavens tremble. If both the sky and the ground are becoming unstable, is the safety we trust in even real anymore? Sinkholes like the one in Ipswich can be filled with rocks and concrete, but the bigger question stays open. When the ground starts opening up in places that seem the most solid, it's not just about engineering or mining history. If a backyard can disappear quietly, where will the next sinkhole open? And could it swallow a whole city before people even realize what's really happening? 9. Snow catches fire, defies every law of nature. A flame bursting up through white snow isn't something you'd ever expect to see while standing on a freezing cold mountainside. It happens fast and hard, quick enough to smash any feeling of safety. And if you actually saw snow burning like that with your own eyes, would your mind even have time to figure out what was going on? Alta California has always been known as a quiet, peaceful ski resort where the cold covers everything and slows every movement. Feet of heavy snow press down on the ground, locking the whole world in winter silence. But right beneath that frozen layer, something completely opposite is waiting. A hidden energy quietly building up, just waiting for its chance to break free. 2 skiers were the first to stop when they spotted an orange flash against all that white. Fire rose straight up out of the snow. No wind, no spark to start it. And the scariest part was that it kept burning even as the snow around it melted. Hot and freezing cold crashed into each other, creating such a weird, impossible scene that people didn't know whether to back away or just stand there frozen. Later inspection teams found out it was natural gas leaking from below, forced out by the huge weight of all that snow pressing on old pipelines. Similar things had happened before in the San Bernardino Mountains, where 10 feet of snow hid pockets of highly flammable gas. But even knowing the technical reason didn't take away the uneasy feeling of seeing fire come out of a place that was supposed to be nothing but ice. Revelation 8-7 comes to mind like an echo of warning. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail, and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. The picture of hail and fire existing together no longer feels like an old symbol. It feels like it's happening again in a different way, right here in modern times. Psalm 97-5 paints the melting of the familiar order. The mountains melt like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. When snowy mountains can't stay cold anymore, the line between natural rules seems to disappear, showing a much more fragile reality underneath. Joel 2-3 puts fire right at the center of the wake-up call. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. Fire is no longer just the result. It's the sign coming first, creeping even into the places you thought were coldest and safest. Some folks say it's just a rare accident, a strange coincidence between deep snow and natural gas leaks. But when you see hot and cold clashing like this more and more often, the idea that it's all just random starts to feel less believable. What burst into flames in the snow wasn't only gas, it was also the growing worry that our world is losing its balance. If fire can come out of ice, then what can we still trust to stay steady? When snow can no longer put out flames, a bigger question hangs in that freezing air. Will these little fires stay on one mountainside, or will they keep spreading, turning the last white places into a burning hell with no way out? 10. Strange glowing objects flying in the night sky. The moment the airplane window opened to a deep black sky on the Moscow to Alaska route, that usual feeling of safety just vanished. A light appeared out of nowhere, not like a star, not like any normal aircraft signal. How would you react if, at tens of thousands of feet up, in the freezing Arctic, the things flying alongside your plane were moving points of light that seemed to have a mind of their own? Flights over the North Pole don't see much sign of life, but they're often mentioned in reports about strange green glowing rings, similar to things people have seen in the sky over Moscow. Up there, the space is so quiet that any movement feels huge, and any light seems unusual. And right in that same patch of sky, the camera caught the hardest moment to explain from the whole flight. 4 glowing objects suddenly showed up, dove straight toward the Earth, then all disappeared at once. They moved fast, clean, almost perfectly together, without any burning trail or sign of hitting the atmosphere. Lots of folks said maybe meteors or space junk, but the sudden changes in speed and direction make that explanation feel pretty weak. The green glowing rings recorded over Moscow had the same kind of behavior, moving like they were reacting to something around them. Matthew 24-29 once described it: "The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky." When bright points drop out of the night sky without following normal rules, those words hit you hard. Not everything that falls from above is a natural thing, and not every light is just mindless. Doubts keep coming up. People talk about satellite pieces or secret military tests. But satellites don't change direction halfway, and tests don't usually happen right out in the open in front of hundreds of passengers. Luke 21:11 put it plainly: "There will be great signs in the sky." A great sign doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes it just quietly shows up in the right place at the right time, leaving people with an uneasy feeling they can't quite name. Revelation 6:13 says, "The stars in the sky fell to the earth, like figs shaken loose by a strong wind." That picture isn't just about things falling. It's about the normal order losing control. When the sky stops staying still, the foundation people depend on starts to shake, signaling a chain of events that can't be stopped. Those objects may have only been visible for a few seconds, but the feeling they left behind lasted much longer. This isn't just another UFO or meteor story anymore. It's a sign from above that makes people think again about where they stand in the bigger picture. And if they come back, it won't be just to make us curious. It'll be to mark a new line, where the end isn't some far-off idea anymore, but something already beginning to show itself in the familiar sky. When you look back at all 10 of these events happening one right after another in such a short time, a common feeling starts to come together. None of them stands alone. From the sky changing color, the ground shaking, the ocean glowing, to strange movements up in the air, everything seems to be connecting into one long chain. The Bible has long described times when the normal order gets turned upside down, not to scare us, but to wake up something inside us that's been sleeping. Matthew 24:6-8 warned, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. These are the beginning of birth pains." The shaking on land, on the sea, and in the sky isn't just natural events. They're like the heartbeat of a world stepping into a time of deep unrest. When you put these 10 signs side by side, the bigger picture slowly comes into view, like puzzle pieces that were already set in place a long time ago. Joel 2:30-31 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood." Those pictures echo in every event we've mentioned, from strange lights to movements that go beyond normal understanding. It's no coincidence that those ancient descriptions match so closely with what we're seeing right now. In times like these, what really matters isn't arguing whether each sign is real or not. It's about turning our hearts toward what truly counts. 1 Thessalonians 5-6 reminds us, "So then, let us not sleep, as others do, but let us keep awake and stay sober." Being awake doesn't mean panic. It means coming back to prayer, quiet thinking, and putting full trust in the one who holds all of history. If there's something stirring in your heart that you can't quite name yet, go ahead and write a short prayer or share how you feel right below this. It's an honest way to face yourself. Speaking those thoughts out loud doesn't weaken faith. It actually makes it clearer and stronger in times like this. To keep walking together through the messages ahead and not miss any more signs that are starting to show, please support the channel with the simple things you normally do. Your presence and companionship are what keep this spiritual journey of seeking truth moving forward and reaching more people. Revelation 1-3 says, "Blessed is the one who reads aloud the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear it and keep what is written in it." As these events keep coming faster and clearer, one quiet question still hangs in the mind. Has mankind really reached the doorway to the very last chapter? May peace be with you and your family, and may each of us find the light to guide us in the days ahead. Amen. Do you ever feel like time is speeding up with every breath you take? When the ground ripples like it's alive? When the sky suddenly splits with light? When strange sounds ring out like some invisible alarm? The world in early 2026 just doesn't run the way it used to anymore. Everything is happening fast, one thing right after another, like an unseen hand is pushing the wheel of history forward at full speed. 10 things coming, one right after the other. The earth shaking and moving, the sky changing shape, the oceans getting angry, light falling from above, cities seeming to float, fire touching the ground, mountains cracking open, mysterious round marks appearing, loud rumbling sounds, and ice covering everything. Do you ever wonder why it's all happening at the same time? And if this isn't just random, then what's waiting for us next? Before we go any deeper, maybe leave a little prayer, the way you hold on to faith when everything around you is shaking. And now, come with me. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the truth together. We'll start right away with 1. The street is pulsing like a giant living thing. Everything happened so fast, we barely had time to freeze. A familiar road, a very ordinary moment. Then the ground underneath started moving like it had just been woken up. No explosion, no warning, just the asphalt pulsing up and down, slow but clear. Enough for us to realize this wasn't just our imagination. The most solid thing we know was reacting in a way no one expected. The movement grew stronger. Concrete slabs rose and fell in a steady rhythm, like the chest of a giant creature breathing in and out. The driver stopped, turned on the camera, half confused, half unable to believe his eyes. No one screamed, no one ran, because that very silence let the fear creep in slowly and deeply. When the ground starts to come alive, the first reaction isn't panic, it's numbness. The video was only a few minutes long, but it spread like wildfire. Millions of views, thousands of comments, and the same question hanging in the air. How can an urban road, reinforced with concrete and steel, move like a living thing? The unease didn't come from the pictures. It came from realizing that what's under our feet might not be as still as we always thought. News reports quickly mentioned similar cases in Quebec, Canada, where strong winds moved tree roots underneath and made the surface ripple. But this time, the phenomenon happened right in the middle of a city, where trees aren't the main factor. Roads were heaving up and down right in front of people's eyes, making every explanation feel too slow compared to how fast the fear was spreading. Matthew 24:7-8 once recorded a sobering reminder: nation will rise against nation. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places, but all these are the beginning of birth pains. When we place this event in that context, the ground's movement no longer feels like an isolated incident. It feels like the first quiet pulse of something much bigger. Luke 21:11 goes on to say, "There will be great signs from heaven, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven," not to declare for sure, but to suggest that when the earth starts behaving in strange ways, it's always a moment that makes us stop and listen. Science will probably give a more detailed explanation, but one thing can't be denied: our sense of solid ground is being shaken. And if this is just a soft, quiet breath from the earth, what happens when that breathing gets faster, stronger, and doesn't stop when it's supposed to? 3 suns appearing at the same time. 3 suns showed up in the middle of the day, not at sunset, not in a dream, but right up there in the clear blue sky, where people always believed there was just one single source of light ruling the world. That moment was enough to tear apart everything we thought we knew about nature in just a few short seconds. Out in a field, in the village of Gingo, South Korea, a farmer was bent over working when he suddenly looked up and froze. High above, there wasn't one sun anymore. There were 3 brilliant balls of light arranged in a perfect triangle, blasting harsh brightness over the whole area. The light didn't feel warm or gentle. It had a cold, strange color that made the air around feel like it had frozen solid. You can imagine rubbing your eyes over and over, but the image just wouldn't go away. Other people saw it too. Shouts started ringing out. Hands shook as phones came out. The videos show 3 suns just hanging there in the sky. Sharp, clear, not blurry or fading like some passing illusion. That sharpness is what made the fear feel so real. Nobody understood what was happening, and the silence from the sky felt heavier than any sound. Scientists quickly gave an explanation. They call this a parhelion, or sundog. It happens when sunlight bends through ice crystals high in the atmosphere and creates bright spots on either side. With the right low temperature and moisture, it can definitely happen. The explanation sounds reasonable, neutral, and based on real physics, enough to calm down folks who look to science for steady ground. But then there's Luke 21:25, which opens another way of seeing it. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. When you put 3 suns next to those words, it stops being just light bending. It becomes a sign, something symbolic, hinting that the usual order up above is being challenged. Joel 2:30-31 goes even deeper. "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes." Here, the Bible doesn't explain the how. It reveals the meaning, placing the event inside a bigger stream of changes being warned about. On one side, you have science, with models, data, and laws. On the other, the Bible's words, with symbols, signs, and warnings. Both views exist side by side. Which one would you lean toward if you looked up and suddenly saw more than one sun in the sky? No matter what name we give it, that moment left behind one hard-to-deny truth. The sky doesn't feel completely familiar anymore. And if light can multiply in such an unusual way, then when might it disappear, leaving darkness behind with no explanation strong enough to comfort us? 3. River water turns into giant fish scales. The usually calm river's surface suddenly starts rocking, like something invisible is stirring it up from below. No storm, no strong wind, but the waves keep rising and stacking on top of each other, forming these regular, almost creepy patterns. From far away, the whole river looks like it's wearing a brand new skin, shiny, alive, making it hard to tell what's water and what's the shape of some huge creature just waking up. This happened on the Qiantang River in Zhejiang Province, famous for having some of the world's most powerful tidal bores. But this time, what shocked people wasn't just the force of the water, it was the strange shape that appeared on the surface. The waves curved and locked together, like giant fish scales, catching the light in constantly moving patches. Beautiful and scary at the same time, almost like the river bottom was breathing. In that moment, it's hard not to feel a quiet, uneasy feeling. If it's just water, why does it look so perfectly organized? If it's only the tide, why does it feel like something down there is watching? That question just hangs in the air with no real answer, and that very mystery makes your spine feel cold. Luke 21:25 once described something similar. The nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Scripture doesn't go into detail about the shape, but it stresses how the normal order of water gets completely broken. That strange scale pattern on the river seems to carry exactly that same feeling. No long explanation needed. On the forums, arguments started almost right away. Some people say it's just the tide mixing with the riverbed shape, creating standing waves and a rare optical effect. They bring out scientific explanations, diagrams, and evidence, trying to bring everything back to the safe ground of reason. Still, plenty of others feel that the living feeling the river gives is something science has a hard time touching. Revelation 21:1 offers another way to look at it. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. When water no longer does what it used to, when seas and rivers aren't the same anymore, it's not just a physical change. It's a sign that a whole new order is beginning to take shape. No matter which way you look at it, the image of a river covered in scales still leaves us with one question that won't go away. If a river can change like that, if whatever's down at the bottom can start moving the surface, then when the real ocean finally roars, what else will stay hidden? 4. The sky exploded with light, glowing fireballs dropping into the night sky. That moment, the sky lit up in a strange way. Not dawn, not lightning from a storm. The light burst out from high up without warning, slicing through the darkness and making lots of people look up by instinct. You can picture standing in a familiar place, but suddenly, all the normal rules of light get turned upside down, like the sky just sent a quiet warning. Bright burning objects kept appearing one after another, racing down fast, leaving long glowing trails like knives tearing the sky open. A blinding white-green light covered everything for just a few seconds, long enough to turn curiosity into real fear. The crowd below panicked. Some ran, some froze, others lifted their phones to capture a moment they felt would never happen again. Experts say these were probably pieces of meteoroids entering the atmosphere, burning up from friction and shining brightly before breaking apart. This kind of thing isn't rare in astronomy history, but what worried people was how many there were and how strong they looked. So many fireballs appearing almost at the same time, it felt like the sky was actually falling instead of just one normal event. Revelation 6:13 once described something very similar. The stars in the sky fell to the earth, like unripe figs shaken from a fig tree by a strong wind. The Bible doesn't talk about science or physics. It focuses on the feeling that the order up above is collapsing, when things that always stayed in place suddenly lose their usual spot. On social media, opinions quickly split into two sides. One group stressed that meteors are natural events, something we can predict and explain with orbit data. The other side said that timing and brightness were too much to ignore, especially when the panic spread much faster than any calming words. Between those two views, the facts are still given in numbers, but human feelings aren't so easy to measure. Matthew 24-29 gives an even stronger warning. The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. It's not just light or objects. It's the whole system people thought would never change being rocked. When the sky is no longer calm, our sense of safety shakes right along with it. Whether we call them by scientific names or see them as symbolic signs, those fireballs left a lasting echo that's hard to shake off. If a little light was enough to panic a crowd, if just a few burning trails could shake people's confidence, then when the sky really pours down everything it's been holding back, when will that moment come? 5. A city floating in the sky. The gates of heaven open right before our eyes. In the hazy layers of air, huge buildings slowly appear, like they're drawn with light and thin mist. The shapes aren't sharp, but clear enough to make you stop, stare for a long time, and wonder if your eyes are playing tricks, or if you're finally seeing something that's been hidden all this time. High above the city of Jinan in China, the image of a floating city shows up among the clouds. Tall buildings, domes, and straight edges, almost like a mirror image from another world. No sound, no big movement, just a quiet but very powerful presence. You can almost feel what it's like when the line between sky and ground suddenly disappears, even if only for a few short minutes. The videos spread fast, and everybody had their own explanation. Some said it's just the light playing games. Others believed it was an image we were allowed to see for one rare moment. What makes this special is how clear everything looks. The buildings aren't twisted or broken. They have solid shapes, almost strangely familiar. Scientists say this is a fata morgana, a special kind of optical illusion that happens when different layers of air at different temperatures bend the light very strongly. Images of faraway buildings get curved and lifted upward, so it looks like a whole city is drifting in the sky. This explanation comes from well-known physics, nothing supernatural, and it can happen again when the atmosphere is just right. Revelation 21:2 describes something different. And I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. Not an illusion, not a reflection, but a real place coming from above, bringing a whole new order to replace the old world. When you put these two side by side, the difference isn't just in the explanation, it's in the meaning. Science tells us how the picture is formed. The Bible asks why it appears and what it points to. One talks about light being bent, the other talks about glory being revealed. Both agree that we humans only see a very small piece of the whole picture. Whether you call it an illusion or a sign, the sight of a city in the clouds leaves behind a feeling that's hard to shake off. It doesn't scare you or threaten you. It quietly plants a deeper question in your heart. Where am I really heading? If a city can appear in the sky for just a moment, then how close is the day when the real gates finally open? 6. Fireball lands in the Siberian forest. The snowy Siberian forest is already freezing cold, but in that moment, the air seemed to freeze solid. In the middle of the grayish night, a strange light appeared high up. It didn't flash and disappear like a shooting star. Instead, it came down slowly, heavily, carrying a creepy feeling that's hard to put into words. The deep silence of the forest instantly turned into a threatening, empty space. The glowing ball, with its mix of pink, orange, and gray, slowly dropped lower, then touched the ground in the snowy woods without exploding. Its light wasn't blinding, but it was strong enough to color the snow all around in a very weird way. The camera shakes a little. You hear quick breathing, and you get this strong feeling that something not from here has just landed on Earth. The ball sits still, perfectly round shape, no cracks on the surface, no smoke or dust rising up. It doesn't look like any meteor we've ever known, and it sure doesn't look like any man-made thing. When you look at that image, one thing hits you very clearly. This is not something normal from everyday life. The video spread fast on social media, bringing all kinds of opposite theories. Some people swear it's a UFO. Others say it's secret military technology. Some others believe it's just a rare natural event. Still, the perfect round shape and the way it came down made every argument get really tense, and there's still no end to the debate. Ezekiel 1-4 describes it this way: I saw a whirlwind coming from the north, a big cloud, flashes of fire, and brightness all around. In the middle of the fire, there was something like gleaming metal. The picture of fire, light, and something moving from the north makes many people think of what's being recorded in the icy Siberian forest. Scientists suggest it could be a meteor or space debris that glows bright as it enters the atmosphere. They say some objects can hold their shape for a short time before they cool down. This explanation comes from physics data. It doesn't involve anything supernatural, and it fits with fireball events recorded before. Ezekiel 1:27 also points out, I saw something like gleaming metal, like fire surrounding him from the waist up and from the waist down. I saw what looked like fire, and there was bright light all around him. The surrounding light, clear shape, and powerful presence make many people believe this is more than just lifeless material. Whether you look at it through science or through faith, that fireball in the Siberian forest still sends a message that's hard to ignore. It reminds us there are things beyond what we understand right now, things that show up suddenly and disappear without giving us the full answer. The ball landed quietly, and if one day it stops sitting still, what's going to happen next? 7. A mountain splits open in Kenya, a warning from deep inside the earth. Overnight, the ground in Kenya just tore apart. No warning, no sirens, no time to get out of the way. A huge crack opened up right in the middle of Maimahiu, like a fresh bleeding wound. Roads broke into pieces, cars got stuck, and people just stood there frozen. That moment forced us to face a hard truth. The earth beneath us is no longer quiet. The crack stretches dozens of meters long, drops about 50 feet deep, and opens up to 65 feet wide. It cuts straight across a major road near Nairobi. The pavement ripped like paper, showing clear layers of earth underneath. It feels really creepy standing close to the edge. This isn't some little crack. It's big enough to swallow a whole truck. Geologists got there fast, with measurements and maps. This area sits in the Great Rift Valley, where the African tectonic plate is slowly pulling apart into two pieces. Long, heavy rains, erosion, and underground pressure are seen as the direct causes. Everything they say is solid, logical, and based on real observations. Zechariah 14:4 says it plainly, On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will be split in two, from east to west, forming a very large valley. The picture of a mountain cracking open and the ground splitting isn't some vague metaphor. It's described in a specific, almost frightening way. A big debate broke out. One side says, this is just a normal, natural process that's been going on for millions of years. The other side asks, why are these big symbolic cracks showing up more clearly and more powerfully, right at a time when the whole world feels so unstable? Science can explain how it happens, but it doesn't answer why now. Zechariah 14:5 continues the warning, You will flee through the valley between the mountains. Then the Lord my God will come, and all the holy ones with him. The ground splitting isn't just a geology event. It's a sign of something much bigger, when people can no longer stand firm on the familiar ground they've always known. What happened in Kenya isn't alone. It's part of a growing chain of shakes and splits happening all over the planet, from strange earthquakes to deeper and deeper cracks. When the earth starts dividing like this, it's no longer just Africa's story. It's a warning for the whole world. If an entire continent can split in two right in front of our eyes, what happens when those cracks don't just stay under our feet, but start working their way into every familiar part of life we've always counted on? 8. Perfect circle mysteriously appears in a cornfield. Late at night, in the Illinois flatlands, everything seemed perfectly still when a strange shape suddenly showed up. No sound, no lights, no sign of anyone breaking in, just a perfect circle right in the middle of the dark cornfield, like somebody carved it into the ground and then vanished. That silence leaves one big question hanging. What happened in the moment nobody was watching? The CCTV footage clearly caught the exact second the circle formed. In just a few frames in a row, the corn stalks that were standing straight all fell over together in one exact direction, making a circle so perfectly round it's hard to believe. The center was completely empty, like everything had been swept away. No strong wind, no people, no machines, no footprints left behind. When you watch the tape again, you can't help feeling uneasy because there's no normal explanation. This kind of thing isn't new, but the way it appeared still causes huge arguments. Some researchers say it's man-made, done with ropes, wooden boards, and careful math. But others push back hard on the timing and precision. How do you make something this complicated in just a few seconds, with no trace left, right in front of the camera? Matthew 24:24 gives a very clear warning. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. When signs show up that go way beyond normal understanding, the Bible doesn't see them as just random tricks. It calls them out as attempts by deceptive powers to fool people with amazing-looking wonders. Online, people are deeply divided. One side calls it a very clever hoax. The other side says there's something supernatural here that can't be denied. Science tries to bring everything back to something we can explain and control, but the icy perfection of that circle leaves a lot of folks feeling uneasy. You can almost feel how thin the line is between a reasonable explanation and some invisible fear creeping closer. Matthew 24:5 keeps going like a serious charge. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. Strange signs don't always come from a good source, and not every light is one that leads you right. So that perfect circle isn't just geometry in a field. It's really a question about what power is actually behind it. The event in Illinois makes us stay awake and alert. When strange signs show up fast, clean, and silent, they don't ask permission to be believed. They challenge our ability to tell right from wrong. It's no longer just about who made the circle. It's about what people will choose to believe when all the familiar lines start to blur. If a circle can appear in the blink of an eye with no one seeing how it was made, what might show up next as the world gets more and more used to miracles with no clear origin? 9. Sounds from hell echoing. The air suddenly got thick and heavy when that sound started. No one could tell where it came from or which direction it was coming from. Just a deep, low growl rising up from the ground and hitting you right in the ears. It wasn't thunder. It didn't sound like any machine. And it wasn't like anything people had ever recorded before. The feeling was so creepy, it made your spine go cold, like an invisible door had just cracked open. In Salvador, Brazil, a normal-looking video of a cloudy sky suddenly got torn apart by a long, rumbling noise. The sound didn't come from up high or from the ground. It just hung there in the middle of the air, like a scream being held back. People who heard it said their hearts started pounding hard, their ears rang, and everything around them felt kind of warped and wrong. A few days later, in New Jersey, United States, the same kind of thing showed up over the radio. Lots of listeners heard deep, rolling rumbles coming in waves, with no clear source. No earthquake, no big storm, no military activity anyone knew about. All we're left with is the question, why are these same strange sounds happening in places thousands of miles apart? Scientists have come up with ideas, maybe seismic waves, atmospheric interference, or some kind of low-frequency resonance. They explain it with data and models, keeping things careful and neutral. But what feels unsettling is how these sounds happen at the same time and how they behave, not short and sudden, but long and drawn out, almost like a deliberate signal. Revelation 8:6-7 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets got ready to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire, mixed with blood that fell on the earth. Before the disaster hits, the sound of the trumpet comes first, not to explain anything, but to warn people. So those rumbling noises aren't just some physical thing. They're more like a whistle in the dark that makes you stop and really listen. When a sound comes with no picture to go with it, the fear spreads faster because your mind has nothing solid to hold on to. You can really feel that uneasy chill when you listen to those recordings that got passed around. Revelation 8:13 goes on with the warning. Woe, woe to the people on earth because of the trumpet blasts still to come. The trumpets aren't there to comfort anyone. They're signals that something much more serious is waiting ahead. Every sound that rings out is a reminder that the silence of the world is coming to an end. This isn't something limited to one country or one culture. When these strange noises start popping up here and there across the whole planet, they start to form a bigger picture, one that people can't just brush off as coincidence anymore. This is the moment when the warning needs to be heard, not just with our ears, but with a real wake-up inside. If those first rumbles were enough to make the whole world shiver, what's going to happen when the last trumpet finally sounds, with no explanation left to hide behind? 10. Thousands of ice balls on the beach. Along the northern coast of Europe, there was one morning that made people rub their eyes in disbelief. Sand, rocks, and the cold gray water were covered with countless smooth round ice balls, piled together in some kind of invisible order. Not just a few dozen, but thousands of them, lying quietly under a gloomy sky, giving a feeling that was both strange and hard to understand. Looking at that scene, have you ever wondered what's really going on behind these pictures that seem like just something odd? The videos that were recorded spread quickly, catching the attention of tourists and nature watchers alike. The ice balls were almost perfectly round, about the same size, with smooth surfaces like they'd been polished. They didn't just scatter around, they gathered in big patches, turning a familiar beach into something that looked like another world. That sameness raised the question, is this just random, or the result of a rare set of conditions happening more and more often? Some experts explain it with strong winds, steady waves, and temperatures right at the freezing point. They say young ice gets rolled up and tumbled around until it becomes nearly round like a ball. The reasoning sounds sensible, but the people closely following this phenomenon notice something unusual about the scale and how often it happens. What used to be rare is now showing up everywhere, as if nature is trying to send a message that's hard to catch. Matthew 24:12 recorded this warning. And because lawlessness will increase, the love of many will grow cold. Those words echo like a mirror, reflecting our reality, where the cold isn't just in the air, it's spreading into attitudes, relationships, and the way people treat each other. The freezing outside seems to go hand in hand with indifference inside. When you look at those quiet, round ice balls lying close together, it's easy to think of a world slowly closing off its feelings, smooth and complete, but cold and missing warmth. No loud crash, no sudden collapse, just a long, continuing silence. That very silence makes the questions go deeper, because it doesn't scare people right away. It quietly changes the way we see things. Revelation 20:12 describes the final moment. I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. The books were opened, and the dead were judged according to what they had done. That picture isn't about sudden chaos, it's about fair judgment, where everything hidden comes to light. In the face of that, these seemingly cold signs carry the weight of a verdict. The changes happening now aren't just about moving ice or wind. They're a reminder that the normal order can shift any time. When land, ocean, and climate all show something unusual at the same time, faith becomes the only solid thing to hold on to so people don't lose their way. The real choice isn't in explaining the phenomenon. It's in how each of us responds to the message hidden behind it. If such cold can take such a clear shape, then what form will the next big change come in? And when that moment arrives, will people's hearts be ready to stand firm before the final judgment? When you look back at all the things we've been talking about, you can see they're not just random events. They fit together like one steady stream. From the sky changing color, the ground shaking, the oceans getting wild, to those strange cold moments and sounds we can't explain, they're all little pieces slowly coming together to make a bigger picture. That bigger picture isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to make you pause, think, and ask yourself, what's really going on around us? In the Bible, Matthew 24:6-8 warned us, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but that is just the beginning of the birth pains." What we're seeing now feels like the opening drum beats, not the end right away, but a wake-up call for hearts and minds that have been asleep. These 10 different signs all point to the same deeper shift in our times and in the spirit. Some signs come from the sky, some show up deep in the earth, and some are those quiet, icy moments that leave people feeling empty inside. When you put them side by side, one thing stands out. Everything is moving way beyond what feels normal anymore. The Bible says again and again that these kinds of changes don't just happen by chance. They're reminders for us to take a good look at the path we're walking. Luke 21:28 says, "When these things begin to happen, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." That verse isn't about giving up in despair. It's about hope for anyone willing to look past the trouble right in front of them. In all the confusion, faith becomes a small light, but it's bright enough to guide your heart. This is the moment you're being invited to wake up again, to take quiet time, pray, and put your trust in the one who leads. You don't need fancy words, just real honesty from the heart. Even a simple prayer whispered in the silence can become a strong anchor when everything around you feels unsteady. If something touches you after thinking about all this, feel free to leave a short prayer or just your honest thoughts. Those few words aren't only for you. They become a connection between hearts that are all looking for the same peace. Every sharing matters, whether it's short or long. To keep walking together with the messages that come next, you can help by sharing this with others who might need a gentle reminder, and by following along so you don't miss any future wake-up calls. That kind of support keeps the journey going strong. And finally, thank you so much for taking the time to listen and think about this. May peace cover you and your family every single day, in every kind of moment. Amen.
Plane, that ain't no plane. Bro.
Take still shots too.
What would happen if everything flaring up around you right now isn't just coincidence anymore, but a countdown clock for all of humankind? Heading into 2026, the ground shakes, raging waters sweep away anything in their path. The sky flashes with strange signals hard to name, and the oceans slowly start revealing secrets buried since ancient times. An urgent feeling hangs in the air. Time feels squeezed, and fear quietly creeps into every single moment. From devastating floods in the Himalayas, brutal blizzards tearing through the northern United States, to one bizarre phenomenon after another, appearing in the sky, under the sea, and right in the middle of our cities, 10 signs keep rising up, crashing together, overlapping almost like an unseen hand is stirring up the normal order we've always known. Do you feel that urgency too? If so, leave a short prayer below as a small mark of faith before we step into what's waiting in the next part. Okay? And now, let's get right to it. 1. The Ravi River turns muddy and furious, like a monster. The once calm river suddenly turned angry in just a short time. The water changed color, rose straight up, and swept away everything in its path without mercy. The Ravi, the river that flows through the mountain area of Himachal Pradesh, suddenly became wild.